You're watching an example of a movie created for me by one of my grade 10 students in Global English. And the goal of this movie was to make me feel an emotion. Nothing more complicated than that. And yet I'm showing it to you because it's an example of what can happen when you allow students to share control of the content they use. Previously in English, I was very used to delivering content to my students and having them use the content that I had vetted. Nothing wrong with this, except so often our students don't engage in that content because they can't see themselves in the content. So this project was about them finding their own content in order to be powerful with language. This student has to be powerful with the images he chooses, the song he's chosen, and the language that he uses to describe his goal. When I watch this, I do feel a sense of outrage, a sense of disgust, a sense of frustration. So I have to say that this student has been very successful. He hasn't read a novel in order to create this project, but he has been successful. And he hasn't been successful with much else this year. It's been very difficult to get him engaged. So the fact that he was engaged in this and could be engaged on a deeper level because the constraints on content were opened has really made all the difference for him. I'll show you another example here. Same project. One of my students with a lovely sense of humor. So this student's goal was to make me feel excited and to make me feel the passion that he feels when he's allowed to move around and essentially play sports, or he's really into parkour. So he wanted me to feel that emotion. And again, he's had to assess language. Later on in the presentation, he creates some of his own language, but right now he's just assessing the power of these quotes and these pictures and this music. And so the content has been left up to him, and he's been able to use it to persuade me to feel something. As well, he's been able to draw himself into the project, which means it's just that much more meaningful for both him and I. Because he's put himself into it, he's going to remember this when he has to, make a presentation to, board of directors somewhere. He's going to remember the tools that he used in order to allow an audience to feel a certain emotion. One last project here, same idea. The student wanted me to feel a sense of contentment. So she wanted me to feel the same happiness that she feels when she's sitting with her cats, or when she's with her family, or when she's reading a good book. A very simple purpose, and yet this project is so nuanced, and her choice of material, her choice of content to make her audience feel a certain way, I think really shows her skill with language. This was new for me because it was the first time that a student had used Weibo in a project. And Weibo is Chinese Twitter. So essentially she's using Twitter for her content for this project, which is fine because it ties into the purpose. You might wonder, okay, she's using Chinese Twitter for an English project, but in order to get these quotes, she had to translate from Chinese into English and assess the effectiveness of the English quote. So it actually takes a lot of skill to do this. She's also used a blog, a well-known blog called Humans of New York. And again, she's had to assess the visual content, and she's assessing the written content as well in order to determine if it helps to persuade her audience to feel a certain emotion. So I learned a lot as a teacher this year because I have let go of content. And I've kind of let go of my preconceived notions of myself as the controller of literature, so to speak. I still show my students great literature and I still allow them to read great literature, but I've really sort of loosened the reins because I recognize that they really need to find their own personal engagement with all types of literature, be it media, be it books, be it music. They have to find their own personal engagement in order to really see success. And that's the lesson that they need to take forward with them into the future.